and mute us off. Let's just do a quick sound check and make sure folks can hear us online all right. Thumbs up if you can.
Yes,
Thank you
thumbs
very
up.
much. All right. With that, it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to make sure my phone is on meeting. If everybody else would please do the same if you're in the chambers. And we will go ahead and call to order the City Council business meeting of January 28th, 2025. And now I hit the hammer. I apologize for that. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Councilmember Root if she would...
Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I would be thrilled.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we start with a roll call, please?
Westwood,
Here.
Conley. Here. Daniels. Here. Miller.
Here.
Ronnie. Here. Rude.
Here.
Stephen.
Yes. Here. Thank you. Give me just a minute while I write my cheat sheet, so under pressure I don't...
Should get people's names.
Yeah. All right. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented. I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Ronning, second by Councilmember Daniel. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, let's get a roll call on that, please.
Conley.
Yes.
Daniel. Yes. Miller.
Yes.
Ronnie. Yes. Rude.
Yes.
Stephen. Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 14th, 2025.
I move to approve the minutes of January 14th, 2025.
A second.
Motion by Councilmember Ronnie, second by Councilmember Conley. Any discussion?
I found an error on page 4 under resolution directing the planning board. And it's sort of next to the last line. It says the resolution would request the planning board to look at the zoning for that parcel and make sure it best suites. I think it suits that portion. S-U-I-T-E-S.
Take the E out. Boom.
Just a second.
Which page?
Which paragraph?
Page 4.
Resolution down here.
For the Silver Strike or the Brewery Hill one?
Oh, the
Silver Strike.
Silver Strike.
That's-
It's just, you know, like a suite instead
Oh.
of
Just a
suit.
typo.
Just an extra E. That was it.
Maybe we'll turn it into C.
Okay, anything else? Hearing no further discussion, could I get a vote, please?
Conley?
Yeah.
Daniel? Yes. Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Rude?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes. Motion passes. All right, that takes us to the mayor's business. I apologize. I wrote really good notes down a couple weeks ago. I did not get a chance to look at them. So let's go through it and answer some questions. EDA street grant, as many of you may have seen, was approved. Interestingly enough, we heard about it from the news agencies from a press release before we heard about it. I did the interview about 8 hours before we got the official authorization letter, which was kind of fun because they told us, don't talk about this, don't talk about this, and so there it was. There is a question with the recent stay that was put out by the administration on federal things. As soon as we got that notice, we have reached out to both of the engineering firms that we've worked with, just as a side note. So Great West is following, they have many clients, so they are following to see what exactly the impacts are for things that have already been awarded, as well as, so, because there's varying stages that are there. The question that came out today, just like there was some additional questions that have to be answered, but Great West is tracking a couple of different projects for us. Some of the things that we have in process, the specific ones from Great West was the EDA and the water projects, I want to say, are federal, that have questions on them, but there's a couple of others we do, wastewater ones that are state, so they're not going to be impacted. Likewise, WWC is helping us with the Rocky Fork property. And so that includes the amendment for which we have a request for tonight. We're still gonna process, and talking with them, we're still gonna process and do that amended letter as previously stated, but there is a letter into state DES and to see if there's any changes to that, but at this point, we're assuming it's going forward as, we're gonna make sure we're not the weak link, that's that. So I'll just throw that in as kind of a conversation of, we are aware that that exists, we are still circling the wagons to find out what the impacts to us as a city are. It's worth stating that the EDA grant, between as long as it took for them to notice us, plus the extra hits that got thrown in today, there is a possibility that if it's late going out to bid, and it's not slated to, if it doesn't look like we can complete it this year, there will be a conversation to be had at a future date as to whether it makes more sense to wait and do that construction all next year, rather than splitting it over 2 years. So we'll talk about, is it beneficial to do half and half, or just delay the project to do it next year? A decision to be made once a couple more pieces are in place on that. Questions, comments?
We did talk about that at Public Works today, and I believe that, our Public Works Director's, hope was that we could actually get those RFPs out, by May, so that it could all be done this
Yeah,
summer.
it is certainly our goal and our hope, but we have a backup contingency plan, which,
But yes, he doesn't
Yeah.
want to split it into 2 years.
yeah, the goal is to not split it in 2 years. We don't think that we think that it's better to buck the community 1 year rather than 2 years, or just from perception standpoint. We did get a good share of the information from our airport, consultant, information that works into, planning board and contract negotiations and interlocal. It is not yet the completed, modified version of the completed, master document, but we do have information, so we are working on interlocal and maps and growth policy and zoning comments within zoning documents will be slated. And that is gonna be on land use, kind of a prioritized thing in there, so that's gonna pick up, and hopefully we'll get through that rather quickly here. The monthly police summary, we did not get it included in the package for December. We did get it turned in, and it is online for anybody who's interested. You can go online and click on the departments and go to police, and we will have those reports available by the first meeting of each month. So he's sending those out, so January's will be coming up soon, but it'll be available by the first meeting in February. We're also gonna have them send those to both of our local news organizations, which is a little different than what you get from the deputies in that, but if for some reason you don't see it, you do have that available online to go look, just as the general public does. One of the things that came up last time was some questions about the upstairs reconstruction that's happening. We actually have that lower on our agenda under council administration. So Ann is going to give us a presentation there, and we've got a couple of us that are here to help if there's questions that you don't feel comfortable of. But so we'll do that. Brewery Hill Trail updates. I think what that was. We're working on it. There was an additional proposal that came in just as kind of correspondence. That was some feedback about a possibility of going down behind the existing house over there. We reached out to Great West, who's our consultant, who's putting that together and getting it ready for the grant application for us. By the way, state, not federal. Now it's suddenly important to throw that in there.
Yes.
That particular one they looked at, there were some things that were better about it. There was an awful lot of things that were counter to it. It would go back and forth and have a lot of zigzags in it. The initial concern was it going to eliminate our funding source, which would have been kind of a non sequitur on that particular topic. While it looks like it didn't necessarily, it probably did mean that we would not be able to qualify for this year's. It would take generating an additional report, which basically means we'd miss it and it'd be next year's project. So the decision has been made at this point to go ahead and prepare with the two proposals that we have in place. We have presented them with a weighted matrix, because their initial matrix, and they're still working on getting that so we can post it online, just had several qualifying factors, but there wasn't any distinction between those qualifying factors. And so we've requested that those are weighted, and like number one on that is human safety. Animal safety is close beyond that. But basically giving them some weighted to it, because otherwise, you know, to help distinguish between. One of the things that really came out of that meeting was that the north side of the road had a lot of positive things for it that didn't necessarily get factored into the matrix as it was just put together, whether it be traffic stopping going up the hill for the crosswalk, whether it be traffic crossing with the sun right at your eyes at 4:30. So there's a lot of things we got to go check. The north side has also got sunlight a lot more than the south side does as far as melting off snow and stuff. So there's a couple of other factors, maintenance and stuff, that are being factored into that. So we're proceeding with that. Ultimately, that's going to come to council, probably end of February, so that we can get it submitted in that March, April timeframe.
Are we going to notify those people impacted by that?
They have already been notified and they're part of the process. So yeah, they were hand invited to the meeting.
Okay.
So I got a question.
Councilmember Reed.
Plan C, which goes behind the house, is that off the table for now, or is that even, should we even think of?
I think it's off the table for now because it basically means we're hoping that it'll come up next year maybe and still be available.
Okay, and Aaron's, who owns that? Aaron's property?
It's the back of his property, so we have not talked with him about it.
Okay,
But the fact about not having easements in place was a serious concern
okay.
to do it, even though that was part of the conversation. Most of this is in their public right-of-way, which makes it a whole lot easier to work with.
Sure, okay, thank you.
All right, in your packet, there is a spreadsheet, and if you will all just humor through me for just a moment. We printed out multiple tabs of it, so this will be horizontal, and they had some yellow lines on it. So this had to do with our designations onto the board. You may recall that last week, we had a cemetery board that was a 3-year appointment. We had a history preservation board, which was a 2-year appointment. We had a parks board, and there was some confusion on whether that was a 2 or 3-year. Our website actually said it was a 2-year, but in going back and reviewing the minutes, it said it was a 3-year. So, just for officially and putting it in the minutes, there were some positions. Sarah, I'm looking at this. The yellows are basically things that require attention. So the Parks Board is 3 years appointment. The position that is an open position, which we have advertised for, which was previously held by Madeline, they're going to make that expire in 2025, if I'm reading the notes properly. And it was basically what they're trying to do is have them staggered so that there's a couple every year. Sometimes when people left, the minutes historically, you'll notice and you look at this that there's a comments field that hasn't previously been in there. And so it's going to keep track of when people are appointed so we know when their appointments are. And so that, if you look through those sheets, you'll see that there's an upcoming an appointment that is near as we can tell. We'll get it validated. Mary Dell Gunn is actually theoretically expired January of last year. That was confusing to me because I remembered appointing her, but then I also noticed we have her on the Parks Board, so it may have been the Parks Board that we had appointed her to. On the Resort Tax Committee, this was again staggered, so you'll notice that the times that they are expiring, a couple of them are in February. We'll reach out to those folks. So some positions or some boards, if the parties are there are interested and the board chair is good, then they can just say they're up and we just reappoint them. There are a couple of positions that we always advertise for. So planning board is one because they have a higher duty and responsibility in their roles. So you'll see that there's some positions we always hire for, and other positions we only hire for the interested parties are not interested in, that current parties are not interested in pursuing on. Also, you will notice that the police commission, there are two openings that expire next month. I have instructed that those be advertised in the paper as well. And again, just a decision based on the roles that they play. Certainly, the parties that are in those positions are welcome to apply and be considered, but that one is also advertised in the paper. So in the paper, we had a Parks Board position and 2 police commissions that were done. And then we've also added the cemetery and the historic preservation just to our spreadsheet for tracking. Lonnie, did I get in there what we needed for minutes, do you think?
Yeah, so cemetery 3, historic 2, and parks.
And parks are 3.
And see, I
Okay.
thought cemetery district, that Jim Hilderman was a council appointee, and that's not on here.
But he's not expired yet,
No,
so.
but his name isn't here with an expiration.
Okay, we'll make a note and we'll get that on, that's the cemetery.
Yeah, and isn't, there's another member of the cemetery board currently,
Well,
some of them
county or city appointed.
Versus county.
yeah, and it'd be nice to see that, so we have the full. board.
Okay, like you'd have
So-
appointed by mayor, appointed by
Yeah.
county,
Or
appointed
the
by.
Yeah, and so we're trying, like I said, we're updating this so that it
That's
solves
great.
that problem going forward.
It's wonderful.
Having said that, like I said, there was parts of it were just pulled from the website, and then we went back and looked through the minutes. So we'll continue to work on that, but that's part of our minutes and history as well. So going forward, when we have appointments, I'm gonna try to say, this is for a 3-year appointment expiring in such and such a date, just so it makes it easier on future
On,
staff.
on the police commission, shouldn't we have like each one of those expire at a different year? Because right now, I mean, if no one ran, we'd have brand new all 3 would be brand new appointees for 2025.
Yeah,
Like, shouldn't like one expire in 25, 26, and 27 or something like that?
I'll give one a 2-year and
Because
one,
we had 2 brand new people, not that it's necessarily a bad thing to have new people, but if none of them apply, if, Williams,
I
NAR
think,
doesn't want to.
we have done that with one of our other commissions. I'm trying to think which one it was. I think it was the Parks Board that we did to make sure that they stagger so that they weren't there. So I think it is appropriate. So what happens with most of these, the first time they set them up, they elect one person for 1 year, one person for 2 years, and one person for 3 years. This is a 3-year term. So what I'm hearing is, as we appoint those positions, and the advertisement specifically does not say if it's a 1, 2, or 3-year position, what we will do is we will appoint them such so we get the staggered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be, just to have that, history
Okay.
and,
They are 4-year. I did look in code
Who
on the
is?
police commission. They're a 4-year term, but it
Not
doesn't say,
So do these that we think
Then-
expire in
then they don't
25
expire.
expire because
I'm not sure.
we'll do follow-up?
So
They
I did
were-
that when I did the posting. I looked
Chris-
on code. what it says
Kristen
in code for
appointed
police
them.
commission.
The
I'm
first-
surprised it says 4 years, so that's the longest.
Yeah, I think they found that when those are appointed. So if it is a 4-year, those 2 may in fact not be open for another year.
no, that would have been 2022,
Yeah.
that they were appointed. Yeah,
Were they-
they were both appointed at the same time. So,
We will check out and find out, and we may have helped support our local paper by running ads that didn't need to be run.
it's good for them.
All right. This is stuff that was specific to, the snow letters are included in the packet, by the way. They are also available on the website. They are also available to, our building inspector who plays kind of a road and code enforcement, with all those companies, as well as to our police department, so they can print them and hand them out as necessary as well.
thank you for
And
doing
we
that.
updated that so that it has the code inside of it, and we've also asked, that standing committee to look at snow as well as trash, and look at some of our trash is not as clear cut as we would like it to be. We'll let you guys look and bring it there for that. I think I had some other notes for the committees that I didn't get to attend 100% of all of those. Some things at UBC, just kind of general, this year the fire district is gonna be coming up for renewal also, so that's something. You've got trash that we've got discussing today. We've also got fire, and we will have a police union contract that comes up this year too, that we've got 2 more kind of negotiation discussions going on. I think that's it. It could be that there's something else in my notes and my battery's just getting low. All right, if there's nothing else, what we'll do at this time is we'll go ahead and open for public comment. This is the public comment to comment on anything on the agenda. Now, having said that, there's also an ability, there will be an opportunity, we'll make an opportunity to discuss items kind of at the real time as actions come up. What I'm doing, by the way, is getting my timer app. That is because you have 3 minutes to speak to council, although direct your comments to me, please, to the chair is how meetings go, and council will just listen in. And again, this is just your opportunity to address the council. We'll go ahead. There will be a public comment for anything within the city's purview at the end of the meeting as well. So we'll open that, and I'll first look to the room. Any comment from the room? Seeing none in the room, we'll go to online. If you'd either turn on your camera or secondarily come off mute so that we can see that there's someone desirous of making a public comment. If you are, state your name, where you live, direct your comments to the chair and have 3 minutes. I see nothing. We're going twice. We're going 3 times. Just know that every meeting we will have this opportunity. So you will always have this opportunity to come and address council. We'll close it. Public comment is closed. All right, action items. First up, I will entertain a motion to adopt the city council rules and procedures.
I move to adopt the city council rules and procedures.
Second.
All right, a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion.
So I tried to capture, I hope I captured everything we talked about last time. And I did, you can see the edits on there, updated the date. We also, on page 207 at the bottom, it now reads standing committee meetings will be held in the council chambers on a time decided on by the standing committee members, so it doesn't have to be the same day that council meets. And then on page 3 of 7, we just changed the time that all agendas for standing committees and discussion, all supporting documents and agendas need to be to the city clerk by the end of day Wednesday before the council meeting, and all submitted documents will include a clean copy as well as a draft copy showing edits to the existing document. So that is there, and that's it. So I guess anything I missed or anything else you think needs to be...
Or any other additional comments that
Yes,
council
comments
would like to see?
I did have a little bit on page 2, under meetings. The 3rd paragraph says, should the council choose to cancel a meeting or set an alternate day for a meeting, the city council must vote to do so no later than the meeting prior to the canceled meeting. But aren't there certain circumstances where a meeting is canceled if we have an extreme case?
That's covered under...
I think
Yeah.
that would not be council, so I think this is for like if council says we're not gonna meet on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
So I think what you're questioning, and let me just validate, is like, we have a flood and so we're canceling it, or there's
Right.
and that would probably be an executive directive.
Okay,
Just
so
to
we're
say
not
call
gonna...
it.
And that's under the mayor's purview, not council.
And then further down in section 5, where it says that in the event of a declared city, state, or national emergency, council members may vote remotely. Isn't that in direct conflict with our charter?
No, that's the only time we can vote remotely.
The
Because
charter
when we
doesn't
had-
say that.
I believe that, Councilmember Conley is correct. I know that historically, during COVID, there was an executive emergency order that we
we couldn't meet. in
that
person.
we deviated from it because we couldn't meet in person, but is there wording that accommodates that?
Well, if we can't, I mean, if we have a huge emergency in Red Lodge where, you know, say the whole town gets evacuated, we still need to meet, and we don't necessarily won't be meeting in person, so we need to have that ability in there that we can meet remotely.
So
if
let
we
me,
have to.
let me take Councilmember Rodney, or Conley's position for a second. We don't need to build something into our rules of procedure that contradicts our charter. If that situation arose, we would do that by an executive order at that point in time and do it. I don't know that I have an opinion, I'm just,
Well, I think it says in our rules and procedures that we have to, or is it just our charter that says we have to meet in person?
our charter says we have to meet in person.
No,
And our
says-
charter outweighs this document.
The charter says that in order for us to have a quorum, you have to be physically present.
Right.
Mhm.
And one assumes from that that only the members of a quorum can vote.
Right.
It doesn't say you can't vote, but
That's the
it's
definition
called
of a quorum. Yeah,
Exactly.
definition of a quorum is those that can vote.
And that they have to be physically present. That's what the charter says. There was a lot of discussion in years past about changing the charter so that it would allow a remote vote, and that's gone back and forth.
Right,
And
it
it has to go to, it has to go to the voters to do that.
I know that. So should we just take that section out and know that by executive order that we may be allowed to,
I
Well,
understand what
remotely-
you're saying, but at the same time, I mean, a future council and mayor may not interpret it that way. So I kind of like that it's in there, that it gives us, it doesn't say we can, I mean, we can meet, but maybe there's not action items that we're voting on. I don't know, you know.
Excuse me one second.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about something that is a rare happening. And if there was an evacuation and we had to call in and vote remotely, is anybody gonna complain?
Possibly.
So, what do you mean possibly?
I mean, if you.
Well, anything's possible, but is it probable?
What I'm saying is it's better to have protections in place to make sure that you can do these actions if needed.
Protection from
So-
what?
Protection of, say, we do get evacuated, and there's a rash decision made with the council, then people have something to way to come back and,
A rash decision?
it could be a rash decision, or it could be something that someone's not happy with. I'm
All
just
right.
saying that this, having proper
And-
protocol is important.
And it can happen, because it did happen during COVID. Council could not meet in person during COVID. For like 6 weeks or 2 months, they had to meet remotely.
May I propose a scenario which may cause us to want to consider striking section 5?
Yes, please
Sure.
do.
In the event of declared city, state, or national emergency, there's a vote coming up. I'm not sure it's gonna go the way that if I got to vote, I really like it to go. So I'm going to declare an emergency. It's an odd Tuesday. Now suddenly people can vote online because I just declared an emergency.
It has to be a reasonable emergency. You can't.
Does
I-
it say a
if it's
reasonable
city-
emergency?
Says a declared city
So,
emergency.
like I said, at that point, that would require an executive order, which is a little bit more of a hoop, and it puts the executive at a higher level of responsibility to do that.
So,
Like I said, this is council rules and procedures, I'm just offering my 2 cents.
Could we add by executive order only?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it probably went years and years and years before, you know, I don't even know if it was ever used until COVID hit, honest to God, you know.
Do we know
That
if is this in the stuff that's presented in the stuff that the league hands out, is this in their master that we took it from?
Don't know,
I don't know.
we've had it. I do agree, I don't think that just any old federal emergency should be cause not to attend the meeting, because we were still under a state, I mean, COVID lasted forever, that state of emergency did, and we were meeting in person, well, it was still going on, and some people were trying to use it as the ability to vote online and attend remotely because we were under that state of emergency. So I do think there needs to be some guidelines in there that it has to be recognized by council that we cannot meet in person, like none of us can meet in person. Does that make sense?
Councilmember Conley, do you wish to make a motion for an amendment, or no?
My problem is it conflicts with our charter, and so I don't want it in there.
Would you like to make a motion for an amendment?
The amendment that I'd like to make is I would like to, at the end of approved meeting site software by executive order only.
Or just by executive order? Okay.
Yeah. That way, that way it bypasses the charter.
Because it's an executive order.
Exactly.
There's a motion on the table to add to section 5 by executive order.
But it would also still include the state of emergency has to be in place, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else is there, just
So,
add that.
In the
in.
event of a declared state, city, state, or national emergency, how about and executive order?
Okay, yeah. Up there.
It's your motion, don't let me put words in your mouth, please.
Okay, that's a good place for it.
Okay, so there's a motion to add and executive order after declared city, state, or national emergency and executive order. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
There's a second from Councilmember Running. Now, we can have some discussion on it further. Hearing no discussion, let's take a vote on the amendment, please.
Conley?
Yeah.
Daniel? Yes. Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes,
Tupin?
Motion to amend passes. Now back to the original motion. Discussion.
Anything else?
I think I saw something that the minutes, when the public, and maybe I can't find it now, but I thought there was somewhere in one of these that said that the minutes had to include, oh, there it is, first page. It says that the minutes shall record the names and addresses of all persons appearing before the council. And I don't think we've been putting addresses in there.
I'm just
Or
like
names.
putting red lodge. What do you mean before, that appear before?
The council,
Like, during public comment, yeah.
during public comment.
I put.
It says shall record the names and addresses of all persons appearing. Does that denote that that's included within the minutes then?
I thought that they were talking about the minutes, it's because it was, the clerk of the council shall record and maintain legally sufficient minutes of the council's proceedings, showing the vote of each member upon each question, every question, or failing to vote indicating that fact. And then it goes into semicolon, shall keep records of the examination, shall summarize briefly the substance of all matters proposed, discussed, or decided, shall record the names and addresses of all persons appearing. So I took that to be minutes.
So is the motion to strike and addresses or to direct staff to do a better job of minutes?
It just seems like it's an awful lot of work to
I
capture.
think that's regarding them
It's recorded.
in the minutes.
So is the recording enough? I don't think that it actually adds anything to the minutes.
So would you like to make a motion to strike and addresses from the rules of
We
procedure?
don't have names or addresses in our minutes.
Do our minutes not include who speaks? I think they do.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does.
I
Okay.
just don't put.
Then I would
just
strike
put red lines.
addresses.
I don't put physical addresses in there just for. that's all.
So I will entertain a motion to strike and addresses from the minutes.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Conley and a second from Councilmember Tupin to strike and addresses from the paragraph that describes the taking of minutes. Any discussion?
I think Red Rock City's resident devices,
That's what we're interested in.
All right, hearing no further discussion, let's do a vote on that. Motion to amend?
Conley?
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Running?
Yes.
Rude?
yes.
Tupin?
yes.
Motion to amend passes. Back to the original motion.
I'm done.
Okay.
We're supposed to do
Any-
this
anything else?
last time.
Anybody else want to let their inner Conley come out and play?
Second time, it's much thorough, more.
All right.
I'm good.
Hearing no
Thank you.
further discussion, we are back to the motion to accept the city council rules of procedure
As amended.
as amended. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronning,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes,
Hupin.
Yes.
All right.
The motion passes. I will add that while that is something that we do by design do at the first of every year, that is certainly something that council can direct to be on the agenda at any time. So if you discover something that's problematic and you want to address and do it, again, the mayor reports to council as a body, not to individual members of council, but it is certainly within the purview of council to bring that up and add it at the future. And that's why we have that whole other section of the agenda that's council business, so that council has the opportunity to do that. All right. Next, we have, I will entertain a motion to appoint the council members to the standing committees as assigned. Just as a heads up, there's a little bit of confusion or charter. These are, the charter says that the mayor appoints ad hoc committees, but it has been my understanding that committee assignments should be made by the chair, the council president. And just to cover all of our bases, the council president makes recommendations and then I present them to council to be confirmed. So just for the record, I have the admin and finance committee, which is Councilmember Tupin, Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Ronning. Public Health and Safety, which is Councilmember Rude, Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Conley. Land Use and Planning, Councilmember Tupin, Councilmember Conley, and Councilmember Daniels. And Public Works Standing Committee, which is Councilmember Rude, Councilmember Ronning, and Councilmember Daniels. I will entertain a motion to approve all of the standing committee assignments as presented.
I move to approve the standing committee assignments as presented.
I second.
Motion by Councilmember Ronning, second by Councilmember Conley. Any comments or discussion from the table? All right, hearing none, vote.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Yes.
Miller.
Yep.
Ronning,
Yes.
Rude,
yes.
Hupin.
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. It is to let it be written, so let it be done. I will point out for public, information that, amongst those things, the council's, standing committees, selected chairs and secretaries today. And as well as meeting times. So Public Health and Safety will continue to be at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, which is the same time it has been. Council Chair will be, Councilmember Conley, and Councilmember Rude will be taking the notes and minutes for that one. Admin and Finance will continue to be at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, which is the same time and date it has been previously. That will be chaired by Councilmember Ronning, and notes and minutes will be maintained by Councilmember Tupin. Land Use and Planning is going to be chaired by Councilmember Tupin. Councilmember Conley is going to take the notes and minutes. There is a change in that meeting time. Historically, over the last year, it has been at 3:45 on Tuesday. It is now going to be from 4:30 to 5:30 on Monday. And actually, it'll be 50 minutes, so that, because there's a couple of those times when we will lead into another meeting at 5:30, so we will be done to give them time to do that. So that is a change for the public, that meeting will be happening on Monday evening. That's Land Use and Planning. And just for the record, it is the Monday prior to the second or fourth Tuesday. Given that sometimes months start on different days of the week, it's not always going to be the second and fourth Monday, but it's always going to be the Monday just before the second or fourth Tuesday, which is why some of our legislation looks so funny, is because they use algorithms like that. The last one is Public Works, which is going to be chaired by, I wasn't there for that, by Councilmember Ronning, and minutes and notes will be maintained by Daniels. Okay, thank you. And that meeting is going to be at 4:30 on Tuesdays. That's a slight change. It has been 4:45, and with the other meeting moving to Monday, that meeting is moving forward to 4:30 on Tuesdays. Is there anything any of the councils or standing committees would like to add to those notes as far as general public awareness? All right, the next, wow, we have some some formalities to get through here.
3-hour meeting tonight.
So, and I was thinking this would be really quick, and I'm talking too much. So we need to appoint council reps to various city boards. So we added some from kind of what was identified, and this actually ties to the spreadsheet we handed out earlier. So what I'd like to do is I would like to do these one at a time. So the planning board, who is our current,
I am.
that is currently council member Conley. But at this time, we will entertain a motion, of who to appoint to the planning board.
I'd like to know when these meet, when they meet, because that,
Second and
has
fourth,
something to do with my decision
Wednesday.
to do it or.
Pardon?
she wants to know when they meet, that
Yeah.
would help. Second and fourth Wednesdays
For planning board?
for planning board at 5:30 to roughly 7:30.
Okay.
And just so we're kind of going down, who's our current library rep?
I am.
That is Daniels.
Mhm.
And do you recall off the top of your head when it is they meet?
First Thursday of every month at 6 till it's done.
Okay. Rural fire, who's our current designee?
Douglas.
Councilmember Miller. And off the top of your head, do you remember when it is they meet?
Third Wednesday, 11:30 a.m.
Parks, who's our current?
That would be
Me?
Okay. Councilmember Tupin. And do you remember off the top of your head the meeting date? Thank you for having the calendar up to double check this.
the first Thursday, we had a weird one this month, that's why I'm looking at
Yeah.
that got me confused. I believe it is the first Monday, no, Wednesday.
No, Wednesday.
It's the first Wednesday, sorry, I'm on two,
Yeah.
and I always mix them up, so,
Okay. First Wednesday
yeah,
At-
first Wednesday of each month, and then
at
5:30,
5:30. And then Sustainability Board is also Tupin currently?
that is also Tupin currently, and that is the third Monday of every month at 4 PM.
Third Monday at 4. There is a possibility, by the way, that there may be one occasion every 4 years or so where that interferes with a council meeting, depending on if Monday starts on the month starts on the wrong day of the week.
And then, resort
And-
tax
Resort tax
is, me,
is Ronnie.
yes, and that is the third Tuesday of every month at 5:30.
At 5:30. Okay? And then, that's all of them. So, Councilmember Rude, did that give you the information? Do you know which ones you want to volunteer for yet?
Not yet.
All right,
Let
so
me
with-
just-
With that quick review, how do we want to approach this? Do we want to do them one at a time, or shall we just do a collective so-and-so on which ones?
Why don't we see if someone who has been currently on one of those boards would like to continue? Because, you know, after 1 year, you might want to change, or you might want to continue.
Let me take this second. Is there anybody who's currently on a board who wants to be off of that board?
Good question.
Currently, I'm on sustainability and parks. I think that it would be fair to have someone from Public Works, because I am no longer on that, serving on one of those boards, at least, and I'm happy to take the other.
I saw you've been extended on sustainability till 27. I'll do parks if you want, if that's right, what I read.
I don't know if I actually have like a timeline of when I'm
Well,
on
No, the
there.
only
I
one
know
I
it's
remember-
expired.
I'm remembering Tees, because she was appointed not as a council member, but just as a layperson in her appointment. So she,
That was resort tax.
yeah, she's been on resort tax.
Yeah, because it was a council
Was
appointed
she,
position.
so she wasn't appointed to any of these? How did she swing that? All right, do you have a preference now,
I
Beth?
know one I do not want to be on,
Okay,
planning.
okay.
Possible
All in favor of nominate, no, I'm-
Okay, yeah, would you rather, do sustainability or parks?
I'd rather do parks, and I also, if somebody wants, I would be curious about the resort tax. So, I don't know. Those two would be my faves.
All right, is there any, so I didn't hear anybody volunteer that say that they want to be off, other than we've got Tupin on two, and graciously giving up one so that Ed has an opportunity.
Well, more so, it's specifically just trying to keep someone on Public Works within those. I think that's important.
The continuity.
I do.
Yeah, the continuity makes more sense in that regard.
And
So that's the
Councilmember
reason
Rude,
I-
you are on Public Works.
I am.
Would, if so nominated for Parks, would you accept that?
I would accept this.
I move to nominate Rude as the new, rep for Parks Board.
Let me ask a question in the interest of time. So I note one change from current positions. Is there anybody who would object to entertaining a motion to nominate as current with the change of Parks?
Well,
Or do you want to?
I think that we should also, like, is there something that someone would like to serve on? Because, just because I'm willing to serve on it doesn't mean that, you know, hey, if someone else wants to step up. You know, I mean, I want people to be able to serve on what they're passionate about, because they'll do a better job at it, so.
And honestly, for me personally, I would be interested in either planning board or also resort tax.
Okay,
And Jody, what are you passionate about?
Me?
Days off.
Days off right now, yeah.
What?
Two
Oh, days
full-time
off.
jobs is killing me right now. So I am perfectly fine giving up, you know, one or all. Just, it's, yeah.
Councilmember Miller, are you happy?
Happy as hell.
All right, let's go back to the original plan, because again, expediency was the offer. I will open the floor and take nominations for who will be the council appointee to planning board.
I nominate Chelsea.
Have a motion for Chelsea on planning board. Any other motions? You can nominate yourself, by the way, as well,
Oh.
I will nominate Sandy.
okay? Sandy,
That's
okay?
like, to me, I'm like, okay, we'll put you both out there.
Oh, gosh.
Are there any other nominations? Motion to close nominations?
Motion please.
All right, nominations are closed. So the way this works is what we will do is we will vote on them in the order that they were nominated. So, Councilmember, Tupin was first. And so it requires 4 votes to be there. If we don't get 4, then we vote on the next person. And then if that doesn't work, we vote again, we go around, we have a meeting, you take a small break, talk, okay? So all those in favor of Councilmember Tupin to planning board, say aye, raise your hand too. Oh, that's, okay, so I have 1, 2, was that 3?
No,
No, oh wait.
I mean, I love you, but.
No, that's fine.
Okay, no, okay. That didn't work, I was trying to be quick. So let's do a quick vote. All in favor of Tupin, go by roll call.
Conley,
No.
Daniel,
No.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes.
Tupin.
I'm the tiebreaker?
You are, so.
I thought she couldn't vote for herself.
No,
No,
yeah.
you absolutely
You
can.
can't nominate yourself.
No,
You
it's
can
not.
nominate
You
yourself.
cannot nominate, you can
I,
nominate.
yeah, I want it.
There you go.
Oh, okay, motion passes. Councilmember Tupin is on planning board. That means, by the way, that there may be an opening for sustainability. All right, library currently is Daniels.
I nominate Daniels to continue on library.
I second that.
Is there any other nominations? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
All in favor of Daniels on library?
Aye.
Motion passes. Rural Fire District, Councilmember Miller currently.
I nominate Doug Miller to be, continue in the fire district.
I'll second.
Have a motion to second. Is there any other nominations? Doesn't really require a second.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to close nominations?
Motion to close the nomination.
All right, all in favor of Miller?
Aye.
All right, Parks,
I nominate Ann.
nominate Councilmember Rude.
Second.
Motion, and so, is there any other nominations for Parks? Okay, motion to close?
Motion close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Sustainability. Currently Tupin.
I'm not gonna nominate myself for it.
Well, and I kind of feel like the two went hand in hand, so I'll nominate Rude to do sustainability. Or,
I'll second.
Gotta look, make sure she's so happy.
Yeah.
when I was.
This is not the part where you give a real convincing speech that you're not into sustainability, because it ain't gonna fly.
I think they're in the afternoon, I think, on
Monday,
Monday.
Yeah, Monday, 4:30,
Monday,
4:00.
4:00.
Oh,
Fine, everybody.
I sadly can do that, yes.
Are there any other motions, nominations for sustainability? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Councilmember Rude. Resort tax, currently running.
I nominate, Ronnie to continue on resort tax.
I second.
Any other motions other than nominations? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the only thing that I know
Not on
is,
any.
is that Council
Planning.
Member Conley has
No
evenings off.
duties.
Oh, that's terrible.
Wait a minute.
All right, let us move on. Thank you. We've accomplished the business. Appreciate your time, and we only have to do that once a year. That's why we forget how to do it in between, right?
Yep.
We put them all on one line because, keep it short. All right, pasture lease. So this is the lease that was, the lease and the MOU, the RFP and the lease both came before council. We ran the RFP. We got one response. That is for $1,000. This is for a 5-year term, and it renews yearly. This land is land that is used, has been used historically, as an emergency overflow for our sewer. It has the possibility to be needed for that again, and that has been made clear to the leases via the RFP. So what I need is just permission to execute this agreement.
I had two questions.
Okay?
Do you want to make the motion first? and then-
Okay, first,
Yeah.
first I'll move to approve the pasture lease agreement for the city of Red Lodge land.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Ronning. Now discussion on the table.
Daniel?
Oh, I'm sorry, was it Daniels?
Yes.
It was very quiet. I just thought it was Ronning.
Sorry, I'm an awful.
Okay.
On the term, this agreement will automatically renew, and I think you meant yearly, under identical terms, up to 4 additional years.
Okay, so where does it,
Under term, number 2,
this will commence on January 1st and end on December 2030.
31st. This
Um,
agreement will automatically renew yearly? Is it for a 1-year term?
It is for, the intent is that it's a 1 year for 5 repeating years. So yeah, I see some problem with that language. Shall commence on January 1st and end on December 31st. I don't think it needs to have any of this. This agreement will automatically renew for 4 additional years. That can be just,
Up
Up
Because
to
don't
4
you-
additional years.
up to 4 additional.
And I think that's,
So it's a 9-year
So
lease.
9 years total.
my understanding is we try to do all MOUs not to exceed 5 years. There's all sorts of
Correct.
legal precedents for
Yeah,
that.
Correct.
And so I think,
I move to
I think we
strike
either
the
strike
agreement
the end, December 31st, 2030, or we strike the second part, but that it should not be more than a 5-year agreement.
I agree with just a 5-year.
Well, either way, it would be 5 years.
So 25th to 2030 and strike the second part?
Yes,
Or,
I move to strike the agreement will automatically renew under identical terms up to 4 additional years, at which the time the agreement shall terminate.
I second that.
okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Conley. Thank you for the catch. Any discussion at the table
I have,
on the amendment?
yes, these 3 men, I know them all. Why are they involved in this? Bushnell, and Wateroff.
Because they responded to the RFP that we put out publicly in the paper and advertised to the world.
And they're
And
the only ones.
They're the only ones who apply for it.
I'm shocked. But what will they do with it?
They are running bucking stock on it, which is
Oh.
basically means it's not something that they, it's not stuff that ends up on your table.
It could,
They don't have vegetables or cows that turn into beef. However, when we researched it, it turns out that expires after like 5 years, at least legally,
Good.
not appetizingly.
Bucking stock.
Stuff that you don't
Wild
eat.
horses.
yeah.
Just that horses, yeah, horses.
Okay,
Bulls.
all right,
Is that, so I think yours is probably, that comment is probably for the whole motion, not just the amendment. So on the, any discussion on the amendment for number 2? Okay, let's vote on the amendment.
Such a cowgirl.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Browning? Yes.
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
All right,
And I have another amendment.
amendment passes. Further discussion on the table which may, or on the motion which may result in another amendment.
Number 14, no sublease or assignment. It says leasee will not sublease or assign their rights hereunder, nor allow animals not owned by the lessor. It means nor animals not owned by the leasee.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
own the animal.
We don't
Okay.
own animals.
So,
I-
motion to modify 14 to say
Less
only
than-
animals owned by the leasee are allowed.
Right.
Good catch. Did I have a motion from Conley? Did I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ronnie. Discussion on the amendment.
No.
Hearing none, let's vote on the amendment.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel? Yes. Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Ruth?
Yes,
Tupin?
Yes.
And I hate to say this, but
That- The motion to amend passes. Any further discussion on the main motion?
on number 17, it says that, the addresses to the party respective addresses listed above, and there were no addresses listed above.
You know, and,
It just has a legal description.
It has a legal description.
That's what I'm saying, that's all it has.
oh,
is a
no,
legal
and so it
description.
has the names, it does not include their addresses. We can easily amend the addresses.
It's for notices, so that if
Oh,
in
right.
fact you have to send them a notice on this, please.
Correct,
We know
yep.
where to find them.
Okay, so rather than a motion to amend the agreement, I think what let's do is we'll have the three parties provide addresses, and we'll include it, and I think they may have, and we just may not have got it transcribed to this.
I didn't see him in the.
But, so we will add addresses before I sign this to do that. Will that meet that concern?
That will.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other further discussion on the main motion?
No, it's beautiful.
All right, let's get a roll call vote on the amended motion, providing the addresses are added prior to execution.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Ruth?
yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, resolution, I will entertain a motion for resolution 3676, if you would read for the minutes, the name of the resolution in your motion.
I move to approve resolution number 3676, City of Red Lodge, resolution of intent to establish a, shouldn't that say CPACE program instead of a?
No, it's a PACE, it's the
Is it?
community-based program, so, yeah.
A PACE program, okay.
I have a motion.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Ronnie, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Now let's go to the discussion. So there was a question about, should this say a C-PACE program? And I believe that the C is for community PACE program, and so this is the resolution they provided for us, and it did not have a C in it.
Yeah, and then most of the whereases do just specifically say PACE program,
Okay,
so.
thank you. for the
I had
clarification.
a question that, our, council, or county commissioner raised,
Okay?
wanting to know, is there a software that the county can use for
Or
this?
is there something that they have to use?
So the question was, the request was actually, if there's an additional module for the software that we use, they would like a heads up prior to us telling them at the last minute, put this in. City Clerk,
Can I speak to that?
please.
So I did talk to Carolyn Jones on that, and she said, no, it will work with the software that we already have and the county.
The existing modules are already there, so there is no additional
That's
purchase
what she-
necessary.
So no
What she
concern.
said, because I did call her after that
Okay.
question.
And she is online too, so if you have any questions.
Perfect. That was my only question.
Okay, yeah, I think we all know, I don't have any comments on this, we've been talking about it for.
And Councilmember Root, I know you are new to this discussion. We do have, Carolyn Jones online, if you have any questions about the program
I
in
think
general
she
you
was
want to
here
ask.
last week, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I don't have any, I think it's a great program, so.
All right. And again, this is just the resolution of intent. You will note that it lays out the actions we will need to take prior to having a resolution of actually establishing a PACE program. Hearing no further discussion from the table, could we get a vote on that?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes,
Tupin?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, I will entertain a motion for 3677. Again, if the motioner would please include the title in their motion.
I move to approve resolution number 3677, a resolution of the City of Red Lodge authorizing the city to spend additional funds for flood mitigation.
I second.
Have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Ronning. I would like to add, just a little bit of additional information. We talked a little bit about this, last week as far as this was coming. So this is for, the letter, which is basically an amendment. And the reason that I wanted to come with council is because it has the potential of, we are basically committing to do the whole project, and we only have 75% of federal funds. And so while we think, and by the way, we have plans B, C, and D sort of a thing, we think that there's not going to be the likelihood of, we don't think it's highly probable that we're going to need city funds. That was the reason for moving forward with this. One thing I will add to the resolution, when we asked council to prepare it, it initially included just number 1 and 2, authorize the mayor to continue to work with. And my original request had said explicitly authorize the mayor to sign the amendment request letter. And he added that in there, but if council feels that that's not necessary, they're welcome to motion to remove that. So I'm just relying on council's input. He didn't think it was necessary, but I thought we wanted it there based on our conversation we had in council meeting.
I'm fine with it being in there.
I'm fine with it being in there.
All right, any other discussion?
I do have a question in terms of the approximate $103,000.
Yep.
Would that be coming out of this budget year or next budget cycle or split? If that did happen.
We may have to cross that bridge as we get to it.
Okay, and we are anticipating, and instead of saying thinking, I want to use anticipating because it's a little more optimistic for me.
Okay?
That we are going to have this funding to cover that 25%.
I am anticipating that we will have that funding.
Okay, that gives me much more reassurance.
With a plan A and a plan B both in mind.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Rubin?
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. And again, we will be executing that and sending it in tomorrow, and we will find out feedback if the whole thing is on hold because of federal funding or not. All right, I will entertain a motion for 3678. Would you believe it? I'd love it if the motioner would read the title in the motion.
I move to approve resolution number 3678, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Red Lodge, Montana, directing the planning board to review zoning designations and regulations for 2 properties located within the city limits.
I'll second.
All right. And so this is just formalizing our request to have planning board. Again, it did not come with a request to escalate the request. It was just an acknowledgement that, and looking at zoning, this zoning, existing zoning doesn't seem to make sense. Any other discussion at the board table?
I just have a quick question. Is
Yep.
this for both properties that we talked about on Brewery Hill, or is it?
No, this is on
Just
for
the Silver
neither of the
Yeah.
property at Brewery Hill.
Yeah,
One of
This
the,
is the Silver Spike.
one of the things that I think would be appropriate
That's
if
down
somebody.
below, I'm sorry. I see that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if somebody wanted to amend the title so that it specified that it was that alley, this will come up in another one we'll talk about, but one of the things that I have found is it's very nice when you go in to look and try to chase down paper trails, if the titles are very, very clear.
Yep.
So if somebody can think of what the title would be for that whole block,
I will make an amendment for resolution
A
number.
motion?
A motion for an amendment to read a resolution of the City Council of the City of Red Lodge, Montana, directing the planning board to review zoning designations and regulations for the 2 properties located within city limits known as Bowling Alley Parcel 1 and 2.
bowling
And I just have reading in the,
alley
Yep.
parcel
And the
1 and 2 from the down below in the whereases. So there's a motion to amend the title of the resolution from Councilmember Tupin. Do I have a second? Second from Councilmember Daniels. Any discussion on the motion? given that there was a question at the table, I think that's a worthwhile.
Yeah, it's typically known as a Silver Strike property, but it's bowling alley throughout the document. so-
Yeah, that's what I was,
Yeah.
I'm like.
Yeah, that's the only reason I chose that particular.
So I guess they'll know what it is,
Yeah, they should be
So,
able to find it by
rather
looking at
than
the
go
title.
through and strike bowling alley all throughout. the-
Yeah, in 200 years. they might-
And the reality is, one of the pieces of property is adjacent to
The bowl.
not, so, all right. Hearing no discussion on that, let's have a vote on a motion to amend.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes,
Cuthbertson?
Yes.
Motion to amend passes, back to the main motion. We're getting a lot of practice in our Robert's rules
I
tonight.
have a question on it.
Yes, on the main motion?
The lease that Silver Strike owns,
Mhm.
does it include the entire block, including parcels 1 and 2, or just parcel 1 as you have drawn it?
It is my understanding it is only parcel 1. Parcel 2 was previously a shed that was used and associated with the park and is no longer there. So, I do not believe that covers their lease, but I guess my question is, explain how that factors into our decision-making process on the motion.
Well, it might be covered by the lease already. If this parcel 2 is covered by the lease, and Silver Strike thinks that that's part of their lease, then we can't separate the 2 parcels.
Well, they are 2 separate parcels, and what we're talking about is the zoning applied to the parcels.
Not their lease.
Yeah,
We're not talking about their lease at all.
If in fact we change the zoning for parcel 1 and the parcel 2 is a different zone, yet it's one lease, that's my concern. If it's one lease, we're gonna zone the whole entire parcel that the lease covers.
So my follow-up to that is, this is just a resolution directing for review. And so I think that would be something that comes up in that review when taking that into account.
The planning board rarely looks at leases.
And I think I'd welcome, if the council would, as a whole, would like to direct the mayor, to review so we can pass that information on to the planning board as they review it. I'm happy to take that direction from the
Yeah.
council.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'd like to make sure that the lease allows the planning board to look at these as 2 separate properties.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay?
Mhm.
Or understand if it allows you to.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood.
Considering it's all in the same block, I would hope it would be zoned the same, but that's just my,
That was my concern, or
I mean, I wouldn't want one little tiny parcel there zoned residential and that city ends up I don't think they would.
well,
Yeah,
this
that-
has
that
this
would-
kind of zoning, this could have this kind of zoning.
Yeah, but it's right next to a commercial
Yeah.
city entrance building.
All right. Am I
I
here
guess
still
that's
hearing,
good.
if I'm hearing discussion on the main motion, or are we good? And
Yeah.
would somebody like to call question and
Get
move it
in.
along? All right, I'll call question and let's go ahead and move on. So we're back to the main motion with the understanding that as we pass this along to the planning board, we will provide the information about whether the lease covers 1 or 2 parcels, just so they know if they can zone it separately or if it has to be zoned together.
Perfect.
Okay? All right. Other discussion at the table? Let's go for a vote.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Ruth?
yes,
Cuthbertson?
Yeah.
Motion passes. Sorry, guys, it went 9 minutes over on my part of the meeting. All right, next we will go to other council business. So this will be just a quick report, from the individual committees, highlight of what they're working on, and give the rest of council, not part of those committees, to have an awareness of what is there. And also, we've got some things that we anticipate are up for action next time. So, first off is public health and safety, so I'll go to Council Chair Conley for that update.
Yes, as you have mentioned, I will continue to be the chair, and it's going to be the secretary. We're going to continue meeting Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. We have gone through and set some priorities list, and Chief Schrock did not have too much in updates for us. So it was a fairly quick meeting for us this morning.
All right, thank you. Admin and Finance, Council Chair Ronning.
I think everything we talked about was pretty much right there, so let's just go through that. Quick down. Because we're gonna be busy.
Done.
Like,
All right, so let me go to the reimbursement resolution for the proposed water system. So this is our 16-inch bypass and our water main. The issue that we have is that we have spent some money on engineering beforehand. If we had spent that money after we received the loan, and if we chose to include those costs within the loan, we would in essence be eligible for 50% reimbursement, AKA we cut the price of the engineering dollars in half. So this is allowing us to do that should we choose to. It gives us the option of including those costs within the finance part of it and basically reimbursing the impact fees where this originally came from. And I'll turn to Lonnie to see if I messed any of that up.
So it doesn't include the impact.
Oh, it's not from it came from the water and sewer, not from that.
Yep, there's your.
Okay, there we go.
But everything.
The reimbursement resolution is a regulatory requirement in the event the city spends its own funds on the proposed water system improvements and later determines to reimburse itself from proceeds of tax-exempt bonds, which you're gonna get forgiven at 50%. It doesn't obligate the city to do anything, but provides the flexibility to use the bond proceeds for reimbursement if that is in the city's best interest, AKA getting $2 out of every one. This resolution contemplates the full scope of the proposed water system improvement, recognizing the city may decide to break this up into 2 projects. And we are actually moving forward with 2 projects because at one point they told us we had to combine them to qualify for 50%. They've since changed the rules of the game and said you can do them as 2 projects and still do that. So that's not up for action tonight. That's up for action next time. What other questions does the council have that they would like homework done on before making?
I just had a question on a word that I'm not familiar with.
Water? It's the wet stuff that comes out of the tap.
Section 2.01, prepacing asbestos cement water mains with PVC water mains. Is that like replacing? Prepacing, what's a prepace?
We will verify that word and make sure that it is a new word and not a typo in the document.
Just as preparing, pre-pacing is just preparing.
Preparing asbestos cement, new vocabulary word.
Oh, preparing cement water mains with PVC?
So it means replacing.
That's what I thought the word said.
Preparing for replacement. I just Googled it.
It's
Pre-pacing just.
Multisyllabic word.
It's replacing.
Just trying to sound fancy, that's
You're
all.
replacing asbestos? Or are you doing something different to the asbestos?
No, you're replacing it with a PVC.
Exactly,
That's
replacing.
It's preparing for replacing.
There you go.
Preparing for, so you have to, because of asbestos and the health hazards with it, you have to prepare.
We will verify that
And it's
prepace
okay.
is the word they meant.
Yeah,
It's
whatever.
legal speak.
Ours
It's
is
fine.
here.
It came from.
The people who do bonds get paid per syllable, so.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
As many as I can get. Okay.
No,
fine.
I don't have any questions on it. I think it's just a requirement of moving forward with this, and
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully everybody will be ready to.
Any objection from council if that's action for next time's meeting? Okay,
Follow this way.
all right.
Okay.
City Hall update, and
That's your papers.
Councilmember Rude has graciously offered to give us a short presentation, and we'll
Short.
correct her if she gets it wrong.
Yeah, short.
Oh, there it is. Hang on.
There we
I'll
go.
find it. Stuck with,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna-
honey.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna read this.
But what we will do is we will, since you're referring to it, we will include this in the minutes of the meeting so that the council, or the public can see what we're looking at.
Okay. Bill, I love history, so I couldn't resist inserting some history. But the short story is that this city hall is in dire need of renovation. It's 87 years old. We've got money, and Brian thinks that after the upstairs is done, he'll have enough, leftover money to start on the downstairs
But that will be next year.
next year. But,
Money
the
set small.
the best news is everything was tested negative for asbestos, and, it's gonna be a brand-new building upstairs. I think, offices, I'm hoping I'm not, Lonnie and Danae are thinking about going upstairs, and then the mayor downstairs, and then upstairs will also be the attorney and, community planner / planner, will be upstairs too. And the best part, I think, is that big room up here, on the north wall, that's gonna be turned into a conference room with a big conference table, chairs, big TV screen for meetings, training, and just another space, because how often you come in here and there's court, there's this, there's that, there's nowhere to go. So that big, room upstairs will be transformed into a, conference room. And one thing I didn't mention is I asked Brian, we got new windows a few years ago, so there are no new windows will be part of this.
But the insulation around them will very definitely be new.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like there's hardly any insulation up there now.
Yeah.
So that, the rest of it you all can read. It's pretty simple, but, it looks good up there, and, I think Brian should be, he invented the slide to throw everything down into the dumpster. He should get an award for that. Saved us hundreds of dollars.
So the short version is we'll have 4 offices upstairs and a conference room that is modern, tech savvy. There was a question last time about a wall moving. There is one wall that there's still as a Yates decision to locate it like 1 foot, to take 1 foot out of the conference room and make that office a foot bigger. But it's not a supporting wall, and it's a fairly minor.
Yep.
Will that conference room be available to the standing committees when needed?
We have
The question that I would have about that is it will not be accessible, so there will still be times when we meet down here in this room for accessible needs. But like if there are,
Well, we also record the meetings, and
we have the ability to record them from
Oh,
there.
we do?
Yeah, that will be,
Okay.
that room will be every bit at least as tech savvy as this
That's
room
what I
is,
was, where I'm trying to look at.
so.
We don't have.
All right, thank you very much for that.
My pleasure, I enjoyed it.
We don't have one?
An elevator for accessibility.
That would blow the whole budget and then some, and we'd still have,
Oh, we've got that.
we'd still have 100-year-old wire in the wall.
You get those little chairs, and you sit on it, and go up the stairs.
Yeah, I'm aware of those in your
We'll just
building.
hire Brian, but like, piggyback, right?
I'm sure.
All right, resolution for intent, for hazard mitigation funds for Eagles Nest. So what is, we got what's called a notice of intent, letting us know that there is going to be, some funds available. Again, that's now
Is it federal?
2-week-old information, because it is federal funds we're pursuing. And again, just to relay on information from our city attorney, the initial request was the one that we looked at last time on Rocky Fork property, just says hazard mitigation grants may be used for buyouts of properties to be used for green spaces and other mitigation measures. And so his thinking was, you can go ahead and submit it based on the old resolution, you don't have to do anything more. My thinking was that resolution was very definitely, in my mind, developed for the Rocky Fork property. This is for the Eagles Nest property, so this is basically a duplicate, but again, it specifies Eagles Nest in the title, and it gives us an easier paper trail to chase down on this as we go through with the future. So are there any objections or changes to that, or is it council's pleasure that we do take it up as an action item as opposed to rely on the old one?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to have either a street address or a legal description, or, because the Eagles Nest has some properties there along Broadway?
And this actually is several properties. This is
Yeah.
5 or 6 properties that we are all looking at.
But that's not in here.
And it's because they may not all be included.
It has to
You
be in
didn't
the,
want to restrict yourself to some?
I think in
Yeah.
order to qualify for the FEMA funding, it has to be in the floodway.
Mhm.
And not all of that property may be in the floodway.
And
Exactly.
actually, just to clarify, depending on which the format is, adjacent and stuff are still eligible as
Are they?
well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
So it is possible that we may, now what may happen is, he may decide he wants to hang on to one of them and then submit 5 of them.
Right.
That's why I was,
Yeah.
And that's his, and so that,
so this
that's-
is loose enough that it's not, it
Right.
doesn't narrow us down.
it's
Right.
loose enough that it says we're going after that as a project, and we're doing it as its own paperwork rather than piggybacking on Rocky Fork property.
Right,
Yeah, definitely.
Blessing of council to move that forward to next week?
yes,
Yes.
All right, so let it be written. All right, we have their list of board members' term limits. I think I already beat that one to death in mayor's
You're
comments.
good,
So if there's no further comments there.
perfect.
All right, anything else from, admin and planning, council chair running?
You know, the only thing we're still working on, of course, is we will be updating the, ordinance, the business registration ordinance to match our business registration fees resolution.
Mhm.
And, of course, preliminary budgets have started already, the budget season, so that will be taking up a lot of our time moving forward.
And there, to go back to one of your earlier questions, some of those conversations may be impacted based on some things that happen between now and June, too.
Yep.
Particularly with resort tax and park type dollars.
And I do want everyone to know, because we do take minutes, and they're publicly noticed meetings. If there's something out there that interests you in these meetings, please feel free to attend and participate,
I want to
even
comment.
if you're not on the meeting,
Huh?
the committee.
No,
Yeah, we make them public, we publicly announce them and record them and take minutes, so that means you guys can go to them if you want.
We could all go.
I can't?
You can.
Oh.
Okay. And also, and yes, and if there's, like, if someone's really interested in resort tax and you wanna go to those meetings too and learn all about it, you're welcome to go to those as well.
Okay, I'll be there
Okay.
if I don't have a conflict.
All right, you guys did have on your agenda, a similar, request for planning to revisit, the, Highway 78 property. Was any progress made on that, or this one? No?
You were going to discuss this at this meeting.
That was,
That was the discussion.
that was the discussion.
That was our
we had.
discussion.
Oh, we're
So
gonna
you-
discuss it,
Yeah,
okay.
You were
I'm-
gonna discuss it.
I thought you guys were gonna come up with what you wanted to do as far as additional guidance to planning board before you gave it to planning board.
But
We were going to let you announce this and just have your piece to be said on this.
You don't wanna talk
from our
on it?
meeting.
I moved the table.
Well, it's not up for action, so it's really
Yeah,
good.
and that's just it. So I'll announce this. So essentially,
Was I at this meeting?
yes, you were. So, yeah, there is a resolution for reviewing zoning of city-owned land, very similar to as we talked about with the Silver Strike, but this is more specific around, the Brewery Hill land that is currently, I wanna say, green space and P1.
Yeah.
And right there off of Airport Hill, and see if there's higher and best use for it. So again, this is up for discussion. It is very similar to the previous resolution that we had just reviewed.
The distinction is, if I may, you're gonna laugh at me, no.
As you should.
And this is just a repeat of last week, as drawn on here, that is a single parcel.
Yeah.
So if we remand it to zoning to discuss it, I think the question was whether they wanted to have the ability to zone it as 2 parcels, which would require action by the city
Right.
to basically subdivide it into a boundary adjustment. And my recollection from last meeting was just that you guys were gonna discuss about, do we wanna give that to them? And again, it's kind of the other one,
Okay.
making their decision. You said, we want to make sure that they can do it as a single. This is, do we want it to do them as one, or do we want to give them the leeway to say, if you want to do it as 2, we will follow through with the ability to break it up and do a boundary adjustment?
Personally, I think it should be 2, because there's the dividing road there, Rodeo Road, or is it?
That's Airport.
Airport Road?
Airport Road, yeah.
But you can't do a lot line adjustment because there's only one lot line. If it were.
No, we would have to subdivide it.
Exactly.
Right, and that's what we would
Or-
do. Yeah.
Or, as an interesting one, once, hopefully, the city can make an arrangement for the little half acre that's there in the square, you would have those lot lines that you could adjust.
right, as we absorb that into that.
Yeah.
So I think, if I could restate it then, what we'd like to do, and maybe, I figure out the wording, and maybe we take it up to the city attorney who wrote this for us, is just, we need this, in this guidance that says you have the freedom to direct the city. You guys do, you may consider this as two different pieces of property, and the city will make the necessary subdivisions to do so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, is that my action item to get that wording done?
yes,
Okay.
because I think there are two very different pieces of property separated by that road.
Okay, so it is the council's desire that it be done as two separate properties, and we acknowledge that would require subdividing.
Or lot line adjustment.
And actually, this was done by our planning firm, so I will take that up with them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I remember that part of the discussion, I apologize, I'm adopted.
So,
You have to quit using that excuse.
I'm still adopted.
is there any update on that, half-acre parcel?
There is not. The only update is that we are going to an appraiser rather than to a broker for the adjustment on it. And that has not been finalized. It was determined in talking to the city attorney and with Lonnie that, that does not need to come to council, even though we'll be spending some money. I anticipate in the neighborhood of $500. But that we will pay for that out of our planning budget, but that falls within the executing the direction of council to do that. So we're gonna go ahead and proceed with that, and I'll keep you posted.
Just for a little bit of follow-up on land use and planning and where some of the confusion may have come from, is we did discuss some of our priorities moving forward, and part of that is looking at airport boundaries and land use up in that area as is, looking at zoning options and reviewing those and working with planning board specifically to have them provide feedback, and as well as, just make sure that we're all on the same page and working cohesively. So
Yeah.
that's not just for, specifically, we're talking about up there at the airport, but then also those conversations will go with all city zoning changes, including properties down in town.
And I do remember that, and I apologize, I've been in 8 meetings today. Did we talk about the airport in this meeting? Did I give a little bit of an update on airport?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay,
You don't have to do it again.
We're
so,
good.
so that part we already covered.
Yep, we're very happy to know that. Otherwise, land
Yep,
use
I
and
have the
planning.
report on it.
Yeah, land use and planning is looking forward to, again, getting some stuff done alongside planning board this summer, fall, spring, next 5 years.
Next year.
Yeah.
All right, prior to going to Public Works, where we've got in there, the RFP as well as the contract on trash, I will just take the opportunity to backpedal just a little bit or back up in the agenda. I don't know if this is under admin or public health and safety, but you will also see coming up the fire contract, the contract with the fire district comes up this year. So expect to see that for any council input, next time. And also, the police contract is going to come up this year as well. So just kind of making you aware that those are there. And with that, let's go into Public Works. Are you showing me something?
Well, I just didn't know what this was in regards to the Department of Military Affairs Disaster and Emergency Services Division, because it's kind of in the middle of our packet with nothing.
That goes with
With
Eagle's Nest.
Nest.
Eagle's Nest,
Eagle's
okay.
Nest, yeah, that was attached
Thank
to the Eagle's Nest.
Okay,
That was their notice of intent, and there's basically a
Okay.
blank document, so when it comes
okay.
before council,
thank you. I just needed.
it will be a filled out document.
Okay.
That was just giving you a heads up of what the
I just
document is that it's
needed
asking
some
for.
clarification.
It was
what
a
that
blank
for.
document.
All right.
It's been a lot, like you said, it's been a long day,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry.
All right,
Okay,
Public Works.
okay.
Let's go to Council Chair Ronning for this, if you would.
Okay, well, let's just go right into that.
And I
solid
know I
waste
wasn't
collection
in
and
your
disposal.
meeting,
No,
so-
you weren't. So let's just go to that solid, request for proposal. My understanding is that we do have to put the RFP out there because of the size of the contract. And,
So
that.
this is the old one?
Mhm.
This was the last one.
This is the current one that
June 30th.
terminates June 30th of this year. Okay.
So are we planning on using this same RFP?
So we're gonna use this as a starting template.
Okay.
my reason for sharing it, and by the way, Mike already has this and is going through it as well, but I wanted council to get a look at it, and then as well as the contract, so that you could provide input or direction into that. And again, I'll take suggestions from anybody, individual members, but as far as like specific actions and directions, that needs to come from council as a whole. I don't know if you, without preamble, if you knew what to do with that, or if anything jumped out as you read through it, or you saw problems. But you can have another 2 weeks to review and look at it and come up with suggestions or concerns, that come out of that.
I do have one question, from an admin standpoint, finance standpoint. Is what the city's collecting, is that enough, our share of it to cover the cost of, administering the contract? You know, we get a certain amount of it, just to make sure that we are covering our staff time.
Yeah, we'll verify, but we.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That is a valid and good question.
And when is this proposal going out?
I would, as soon as possible. I'd like to see it go out not very much later than the last meeting, so, let's plan on this going out the week after our next meeting, and the only reason I say that is so that you guys have 2 weeks and don't have a rush, that you can go through and come back with any suggestions on this. Having said that, there may be updates that already come from our Public Works Director.
And I would like, I know you and I had privately discussed this, Mayor, but, some type of performance guidelines
Yep.
included in there as well.
Thank you.
Because
Yep.
I have been seeing quite a bit, and not within the city, they're doing a great job within the city, but outside where they're dealing with individual people, there's a lot of complaints.
So we do have that in our notes of performance clauses, again, based on input from council. Having said that, we don't have the ability, and what's interesting is most of our calls that get directed to our Public Works Director are actually not from the city, they are actually from outside of the city. And so, the one thing I do want to be careful of or cautious of, or state, quite frankly, that we're not gonna do, we aren't gonna throw our muscle around to have them.
No, we
to-
can't, no,
Okay, yeah.
no, I'm just saying that I want that level of service that we're currently experiencing within the city limits of Red Lodge to continue.
Or improve, yeah. So, yeah, and so we're gonna have, so performance clauses is one of the things that we have there, so that you know. Another thing that we've talked about, is differential billing, meaning, I now have a small can, not a big can. Can we factor that in? People who are gone 6 months, I mean, there's several different conversations that we can factor in that now that it's on, because council's action to move this to the utility bill rather than taxes. It does open up some possibilities. Recycling is going to be part of that conversation also.
Perfect.
It was before. One of the things that is in here, that you will see, in the RFC, and I'm looking for the page, maybe it's in the second part. Where's the matrix? Is that within here?
It's within that RFP.
I didn't see it, but I thought it was, where we talked about how we're gonna weight them.
The percentage part of it?
Yeah.
It's in the yeah.
Page 50.
Oh, I do see it. It's on page 5 into page 6, where it talks about how they will be evaluated for the criteria. That is one of those high-level things that I think council's input would be, welcomed on. If you think that that is correct, or if that weighting needs to be changed at all.
Okay.
I will share that last time we got 2 responses back. They were not remotely close. And part of that was because one of them was already equipped with bear cans and the ability to do that. And the other one, which is a very active, provider in the area and does a lot of stuff in the county. I think they do the adjacent counties and stuff. So we'll put it out again, and I hope we get some competitive offers. But like I said, this is council's opportunity to look through, specifically through the RFP, look at the weightings, and say, as Councilman Ronning has, we'd like to see performance clauses. What are you suggesting, offering for performance clauses? What do you offer for differential billing possibilities? And what are your plans, and how can you improve our recycling program?
Perfect.
As be part of that. So if there's other things, you've got 2 weeks, I'll get that feedback next next week, and then the RFC will go out shortly after. The RFP will go out shortly after that.
Lovely.
Out of curiosity, and I assume not, but vacant pieces of land are not being charged for
Yeah,
garbage pickup, correct?
Correct, we do
Or
not,
recycling?
no, so there is, and I think what you're talking about is, so like,
There is
vacant
no water,
pieces of
though.
land, there's a water and a sewer minimum.
Right,
That is not true of trash. Meaning, trash does not have that.
vacant land doesn't have any trash.
That is
Right,
correct.
right.
I just wanted to confirm.
No, but
Understood.
It sounded very
But
logical.
part of the reason why we've been able to keep our, garbage bills down is because everybody, whether they have a garbage can or not, in residential, is paying, not vacant land, but,
Right.
but yeah, everybody is being charged for a garbage can, whether they use it or not, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, whether they use it or not, correct.
So just keep that in mind when you're talking about whether or not you can exclude people from using the garbage. Okay.
I can't tell that's English. All right, any other comments or questions at this time on trash? So we'll look for final comments and input from council next meeting.
Right.
And then just, to confirm, we will have Mike changes in next week's packet,
Yep.
so the most updated copy, great.
And again, council is welcome to ask questions of staff. Just please be careful in your phrasing so that it doesn't come across as directing staff. Okay?
Yep.
That's the rules. I won't try to be council and you guys don't try to be mayor, and
Yep.
we'll all get along just fine. All right, we good?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, Council Chair Ronning, back to you.
Well, you also saw in there, in our packet, thank you so much for the snow removal letters, for all the businesses and to go out to the snow removal companies. We appreciate that. There is also going to be a snow removal party starting tonight at one
Oh,
AM.
thank you, because I wanted to do that, and that was, I'm sure, in those notes. So the snow party was originally
Tonight at
going to be
1 a.m.
tomorrow night.
So
It is going to be tonight.
Yeah,
And just for clarification of what that is, at about 11 o'clock or midnight, our police are, they've been handing out flyers on cars and working with people to empty out Broadway, as well as to, empty, and if our local press has an online presence and want to get an announcement out there,
I'll go ahead.
yeah, already got it out there, fantastic. And then about midnight, they'll start calling license plates and saying, hey, come get your car so we don't have to tow it. And, all of that snow is going to be removed and taken up to basically the ski joring area, which, if you go to your snow letters, you'll see is available to any of our snow removal companies. They are welcome to take snow up there and dump it as well. That's one of the services we provide to help keep our city clean and straight.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for bringing that up, because I wanted to mention that. So that's tonight. And just so that people know kind of the timing of that, it's a combination of we have a bunch of snow and there has to be no recent snow and nothing immediately in the future, which may be why this changed from Wednesday night to tonight.
Sure.
Is with the forecast coming up, because what they do is they take their big state snow plows that have the cinders on the back and the plows on the front, and they strip them down and turn them into dump trucks, and that's an all-day process. And then when they're done, they have to turn them back into snow plows, which is an all-day process.
And this is
So-
something that you've requested?
This is something we have an ongoing
Yeah, it's been-
conversation with them. It's been
Yeah.
done in years past, and so whenever it gets snowy, we say, hey,
Mhm.
can we do it? And they basically, because they're covering the tag for it, we basically, we graciously ask and we accommodate it when they're able to do so.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. You can't open your door on Broadway safely.
So,
Trying to chip through the hard stuff on the
that's
plow.
huge, 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 thank you. I can't believe I forgot that.
I do have a question on the snow letter,
Okay?
and you can clarify me if I'm wrong on this, but from what I see, is it's just for businesses and property managers?
So if you go out and you look at the code in 431
Okay,
through 433, it does not apply
to residential?
it does not apply to all the residents. It only applies to streets along Broadway, and it's kind of in conjunction with the agreement we did with MDOT
Okay.
on Broadway.
Excellent.
So that is why that is who it refers to. Now, again, that's one of those things where I'd love to see you guys have this on your priorities list
Mhm.
in committee to look at it and say, do we want to address it? And like I said, and trash is the other one that are both there. As
Yeah.
we've gotten to and enforcing what we have on, you start to notice where the holes are, or where the assumptions that have been longstanding are not accurate, or they were part of an ordinance that didn't get passed, or an ordinance that got superseded. So that's why that's requested to have that on that council, on that standing committee.
Yeah. And, the only other thing we, of course, Public Works Director gave us a wonderful update as always. And do you want a copy of that to go in the minutes, or do you want to just have her put it in the, minutes of the standing committee?
That is whatever you guys.
Chris would just kind of take this and put it in the notes, we had it done previously.
Are you good with that? Just continuing in the standing committee? Because, so if you're ever interested, I mean, it's a great update of where all the projects are at. They are also working on the capital improvement plan. So if there's anything, wish list items, please forward those to our committee, and we'll forward them on to, our Public Works Director to include. And, those are just, if we have them out there in the CIP, then, we have a better chance of getting grant funding for them, should it become available.
And it's just an awareness as when we see things, it's in the hopper, and so you recognize it. So like, I'll give you an example of something that is being added that wasn't there. Some of you may be aware or have seen the notice if you went to the city website. We had a water leak. It was a city water leak down between 15th and 6th and Hagen, and if you were down there prior to today, in the last couple of days, you saw a very huge machine. It's called a ground dethaler. And they're $35,000 or $40,000, or you rent them for $5,000 to $15,000 on an as-needed basis. So by the time you rent one 3 or 4 times, would we have been better off buying one to do that? So we were able to get one on an as-needed basis, but that's an item that's now on the CIP plan. So if we see a used one for $12,000 or $13,000, then suddenly that's something we can come in and say, hey, can we utilize resort tax dollars to buy this opportunity? Another thing that you will see on that CIP plan that they're kind of looking at, and it may even just come out of our regular budgets, but we are looking at the possibility of acquiring some of those dump trucks our own. So we can't go and get new dump trucks, but there's a lot of surplus sales from other governments and military stuff where we could go buy like 3 dump trucks, which gives us the ability to come and haul big snow piles off of intersections like 19th and Broadway and stuff, and we can get snow out of the way without having a dependency on the state. So that's something we're looking at. And if it makes sense to do that, it helps us provide a better service to our customers, then we'll pursue that. All right, any other questions, comments from the table? Before we go to public comment, and we're at that correspondence, Lonnie, would you like to speak to any of the attachments that you've included in the packet on budget, or does anybody have any questions?
No, those are just the clerk's report, monthly clerk's report, and resort tax.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's numbers.
Yeah.
The clerk's report. I do too. So is there any questions on those? Anybody would like to ask?
Oh my God, no.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Nope, not even.
All right, any other correspondence that needs to be reported in council meeting? All right, at this point, we will go ahead and open this up for public comment to anything in the city's purview. Again, if you would start by stating your name, your general location, doesn't need to be a street address, but, you know, Red Lodge or adjoining city or wherever. If you'd please address your comments to me, and with that, we'll open public comment. I will first go to the room. Hearing no public comments in the galley, we'll go to online. If you'd like to make a public comment, if you could start by turning on your camera, that'll let me know, or an absence if I see an unmute, I'll call on you. Going twice. That's code for if you're speaking, we're not hearing you. Going 3 times. Seeing none, we will go ahead and close public comment. I will entertain a motion for number 12. We are adjourned.
I want to hear something
Thank
funny.
you all.